I feed all my birds and squirrels, and I'm like Dr. Dolittle in my back garden. And I think I've overfed them, where the squirrel can't jump anymore, and I've got a pigeon that can't fly. They're literally sitting like this in my garden. Just waiting to be fed. There's no lift.
They're all dependent
in the pigeon.
I love it.
So it's ridiculously big. There's the big squirrel.
Well done.
Just
The
sitting.
size of it?
Yeah, it's massive.
Oh my God.
This is what my sister bought me for Christmas. A bird
Squirrel
table with
feed.
a camera in it. When I said to Frank, I sent him a little video one day of a blue tit landing and he went,
Why have you sent me that?
Can you imagine Frank just with this phone? Oh look, she's showing me her tits again.
she's got her tits out again.
Oh dear.
Hello, I'm Christine Lampard and welcome to Not Just Football, part of the Overlap Network and brought to you by Sky Bet.
I miss the days of our reporters just out there with fans in the background, and you're sat in the studio on edge just waiting to be sort of brought back into vision quickly because someone's sworn or shoved a purple dildo in your face.
Santa brought Patricia a remote control Barbie car. This thing is like a power demon. It's
Hayley, you've been to Kath Phipps' funeral, haven't you?
It was beautiful. I think Sir Alex Ferguson, a few days after that, was actually going to her house to sort out her belongings.
He said that United was run by one girl.
Kelly Cates and Hayley McQueen are here as always, and we do discuss football. We talk a lot about football in fact, but we actually talk about a lot of other things as well, and that is how we're going to kick-start the year here on the pod.
I have got a New Year's resolution.
I was like, there's no way Kelly's going to go for this whole New Year's resolution
do you know
thing.
what? I saw this thing on TikTok because and there was a little bit of a trend for it, and I thought I'm going to do that. I'm going to learn a skill, and you can learn to play the introduction to Piano Man on a harmonica. So I've bought a harmonica.
That's the last thing I thought she was going to say.
Me too.
And I'm going to learn to play the introduction to Piano Man.
Oh my God.
And then I told my daughter, she went, I'll do the piano bit.
What? So it's a family thing?
We're not doing it for people.
Oh, right.
We're not going to just...
Oh, no.
Just for
You can't keep that magic
just for our own entertainment.
That's fabulous.
So I Googled it and I was like, how hard is it to learn to play the harmonica?
My dad used to play the harmonica. Weird. We had a few in a drawer, yeah.
See? And
Antique
do you know you can
ones,
get them in
everything.
different keys?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even think that.
Yeah.
Of course you would. That
So I've
makes
had to get it in
perfect
C
sense.
major.
So how do you figure out which key is yours?
I Googled what key is Piano Man harmonica on.
Oh, okay, so it's the song as opposed to
What
your...
kind of harmonica do I need for Piano Man?
Oh my, how many notes, not notes, but like how many phrases do you...
That's it. That's all I'm going to learn.
So you're going to
It
do
won't
that.
take me a year.
I was going to say,
You've got a year.
this time next year,
yeah.
you'll have nailed it.
This time next year, Rodney.
Oh my
I'll be
God.
opening for Billy Joel at Anfield this summer.
Absolutely, yes.
If you're going to do piano, Billy, I've got a harmonica.
She's here.
Is that a harmonica in your pocket?
Sharon's currently watching going, sign her up!
There you go. My skills.
Fantastic.
So I'm expanding my skill set.
That's
been
very
fun.
impressive.
That is good. I want to learn a language, but I say it every year because we had we had 9 in our house sleeping over, mattresses, sleeping bags, sofas, just kids the lot. I don't speak any German or Turkish. They don't speak any English. This is my other half's family. So like it was tough. It did mean that at points I could just sit there and just rock back and forth and not have to speak to anyone whilst trying to cook and clean and entertain a house full of 5 kids and 4 grown-ups. And they just eat and eat and eat and eat. Like, oh my God.
People are awful like that. They eat a lot.
But I was like, I need to learn another language to be able to communicate.
So you
Go home now,
Are you going
please.
to learn German? Is that your
German?
Is that your?
Are you kidding? Maybe. I think I'm going to need to, especially with my little one. I want her to be able to communicate with the grandparents. And
That would be a
things.
nice thing.
It would be a nice thing.
Well,
I
I
can
do
sing
that all the
2
time.
carols in German. 2 Christmas carols in German.
You're just shocking us every
That's
turn
the Christmas
today.
special.
What with that and the
for next
harmonica,
year.
get me round for Christmas.
It's a
one-man band.
Oh wow! And to just do a little bit more, to get out more. So I'm going to Cirque du Soleil on Wednesday night.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
I'm going to see a play on
Which one?
Friday night. I can't remember. It's new. It's just about to open. It's opening night.
Where? town or?
I'll tell you, it's in London, yeah. And I went out to the theatre on Saturday night.
What did you see on the Saturday?
Jeff Stelling live in concert.
Yes, yeah, with Bianca.
At the Swan with Bianca, so that was good fun. I had a whole bottle of wine to myself. I went on my own. I could take grown-up snacks as opposed to like kids snacks. I didn't have to share anything.
What were your grown-up snacks?
I took salted popcorn.
Right.
And took, so we've got a shop near us that sells, the traditional, it's disgusting, but the Bombay mix, really unhealthy, but proper.
I love Bombay
with the
mix.
Little, and the Japanese orange crackers, the fiery ones, and wasabi nuts.
Yes.
I just sat there.
I'm going to see The Tempest. I'm going to change the date. I was meant to be going this week to see The Tempest with Sigourney Weaver. What? It's quite exciting, yeah.
Really? That's cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is all very...
Good for you.
Very educational and sophisticated.
You're always at the theatre, so I was like, I'm going to take a leaf out of Kelly's book.
Yeah, you are good. You're good for recommendations as well then.
You're like an encyclopedia.
Yes. Like a little time-out.
A pocket time-out.
I'm doing absolutely nothing.
Oh, January's not a time.
I just cleaned my house, and I was a professional chef practically the whole way through Christmas. And I just never stopped cleaning. I haven't caught up almost.
And Frank's not really there at the moment, is he? Because he's away working.
And we were really sick over Christmas. Everyone's been talking
everybody's
about
had
this.
it.
It's either a tummy bug, which we thankfully escaped, but it was like the chesty kind of coldy thing, and we all had it. And it just knocked all of us for 6. And the 2 children, their temperatures were 40, 41. Got them to the doctor, antibiotic, then I got it. So on Christmas Day, thank God my mum was there, or I could never have gotten through the meal just to cook in it. Your taste buds have gone. It's not... But anyway, we got through it. Santa came. Everybody was happy.
Yeah.
It was.
Feels like
was
so
nice,
long ago.
doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
So long ago.
When did you stop saying Happy New Year?
I've done it now.
I'm still saying it.
I was surprised. I'm done now. Although I came in today and people said Happy New Year, and that's nice, but I wasn't prepared for it. In my head, I've moved on. I was like, I know.
What are you saying that for?
Yeah, it's a nice thing, but I just wasn't. I wasn't ready for it.
Someone was like, Happy January. I'm like, is this a thing
Happy
now?
January.
Happy January. I was like,
that's because they're sober. They haven't had a drink since December. They're all full of life and feeling great.
I don't do that. If anything, I drink more in January because it's so miserable.
I was at a christening yesterday. We went out afterwards, so I was out. I was like, no way am I going through a christening and then going to an after thing in London in a lovely bar and not drinking at least 5 cocktails.
No,
it's a Sunday, I'm off.
Yes. It's exciting.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
I need to drown my sorrows.
Nothing says christening like getting shit-faced on cocktails.
True. Very true.
To the world,
it's what the baby Jesus would have wanted.
He did. He absolutely did. He provided.
He said, well, listen, the man turned water into wine, so...
Yeah.
He was clearly on board.
Absolutely, yes.
He would have been against dry January.
I think so. It's just the most depressing month, though, isn't it? Everything's grey. All of the sparkly lights have been taken away. It's the one month that maybe 5 cocktails on a Sunday might brighten you up. I'd rather do a dry February. Well, that's my birthday month, so so maybe March. But I'd rather sort of, if you're trying from a health perspective.
Yeah. March is another 31-day month. Don't do March.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
I get why people do it, and it's like give you a bit of a kickstart, and especially if you've overindulged over Christmas in New Year. Like a lot of it, I worked over Christmas, so it wasn't like I just sat at home drinking Baileys all day and every night, but just not every day. But I had my little tipple, got through 2 bottles. Nobody else drank it. I was having hot chocolates and Baileys on my forest walk.
Just talking to yourself,
coffee and Baileys.
Honestly, coffee's horrible now.
Yes, I know. What is that? Cheers.
How boring.
I tell you what, I do get quite energetic, and not energetic like as in woo, but walks and if it's not raining, especially because it's been sunny and cold. I love that. That's my favourite weather. When it's like that, I'm out. I saw a thing on social media somewhere that said I'm not outdoorsy, but I am quite outsidey. So I'm not outdoorsy, and I don't want to go camping, or I don't want to do anything like too tricky. Yeah. But I like getting outside and getting fresh air.
I'm with you entirely.
That's quite nice, and because Christmas just feels like it feels quite stale after a while. I want to get out the house and go and do stuff.
And even the children, I got them into their boots the other day and hats and scarves, and we went to Hyde Park. Yeah. And it was that really freezing cold day. It was beautiful.
Yeah,
as you said,
it's lovely.
And a clear blue sky for me. I think it might be one of my favourite types of day.
Yeah.
Just the freshness of it. It's lovely.
Same.
You make the most.
Feels like you've cleared your lungs and kind of just and your head and everything. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, exactly. But then they're all back to school now.
I know. Woohoo! That Monday.
We're straight into mock GCSEs though. We're in exam period.
That's stressful.
No.
Well, yeah, but I think once you've started the exams, it's the anticipation of it is hard.
Yeah.
And then actually once you started, it's like
You just want it over,
you're
don't
in there.
you? Yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
hard.
It's all good.
I thought I was going to have trouble getting her back to school because this is her, as you know, reception. She did that first term after the October break. It was awful. I felt so guilty sending her. She enjoyed being at home. This time, I can't wait to tell how good I've been, because I've been so good because Santa brought me the Barbie dream house and I've got this, and she got 10 whole pounds in an envelope from a great aunt, and she went and bought Ken. Yeah, that's all she wanted. And she's waiting
Was it Ken with the football?
He does. He's got he's Action Man All Sports Ken. He comes with sun cream, a basketball, a football, a little golf set. He's in his swim shorts.
Oh, this is amazing.
I like Ken. I'm just there playing with her. But there's a wee boy up the road, and she's like, "Oh, mummy, I just can't wait for Alfie to come over because he's going to be Ken." I'm like, "Oh God, how do I get 5-year-old Alfie to come to the house to play with the dream house?"
My friends, my daughter's friend used to. They're only a month apart, and he used to wear the full Disney princess. He'd come round and wear the full Disney princess costumes, and they don't at that age. They'll play with anything as long as.
Yeah.
I remember the Barbie Dreamhouse Christmas. I remember getting mine. It's
I remember getting mine.
I loved it.
I had the caravan and I had the car, and I'm pretty sure I think we had like a helicopter.
Oh,
But there was no
did you
house.
have a
I don't know.
helicopter?
Yeah, they had a helicopter.
Yeah, they've got that.
Dad had been to the States, and I remember him bringing it back.
Pink sports car, I
Yeah.
think I had.
That was it.
Yeah.
I had a pink
They're
sports
still,
car.
They're still very in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I remember my Barbie dream house. So and then I remember my sisters who are younger than me, and then the girls had a Barbie dream house as well. So it's like all the Barbie dream house is a classic. It's like a bike or it's something. It's
Well, Santa brought Patricia a remote control Barbie car.
Oh, yeah.
This thing is like a power demon.
Yeah.
The speed of it is unbelievable. And it takes 2 Barbies, and you can put a suitcase in the back. And spin it. It's fantastic. I thought
That for the elf next year.
That. Oh, that's a very good point.
Hayley, you've been to Kath Phipps' funeral, haven't you?
Yeah.
Was it because there are sad funerals and then there are really lovely funerals sometimes?
Celebratory.
Yeah, and how was it?
It was beautiful. Obviously sad because it kind of symbolised more things than just losing this incredible woman. It was like losing the heart of Manchester United. It was like the final little piece of authentic Manchester United of what it used to be in years gone by, gone. That was it. It was like the last woman standing. So it was sad in that respect, but it was the most incredible reunion of what an invite list, and people, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer flying in from Norway, Peter Schmeichel making the effort to come in. I'd gone on my own, I kind of sat there, it was like Brian Kidd to my right, Gary Palliser to my left, and then Ollie was just along, and Schmeichel was, it was such like a lovely, lovely time to kind of reconnect, and we all did talk about Kath and what she meant to all of us, and Johnny Evans stood up and spoke. I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit more.
Apparently he spoke brilliantly. Oh my
gosh, and he'd called lots of different people from all the different eras of Kath's tenure at Manchester United, because she'd worked there for 55 years, and there are many people like this at lots of different football clubs. They might not have done 55 years service, but they're very much that kind of heart of the football club. And he said she didn't drive anymore, and she was in her 80s, and she would leave training, and he'd give her a lift home, and he took her by the hand and walked to the door, and he said, it felt like I was walking royalty. I said, it felt like I was driving the Queen. And he said, we'd driven out of Carrington, and she was like, oh, no autographs today, John. Don't roll the window down. He said she was very much like, he said he was the most nervous he's ever been driving. He said he could have had Man United's top million, £50 million striker next to him in the car, whoever it might have been, one of his colleagues, but he said it was more precious having Kath there. And I remember as a wee girl, because she used to work in the Players Lounge, I remember her when I was there at Manchester United, and 4 decades later, yes, that old, she's still there. And when my dad had passed, I'd gone back to the football club, and the last conversation I'd had with her after she'd been handed a Lifetime Achievement Award. I don't know if it was you that...
Yeah, the LMA Awards.
You presented her with that, didn't you?
Yeah.
And she had it on the wall.
Well, they had the most beautiful kind of VT, just of people being interviewed about her, and very similar to the things that we've kind of all heard said about her. But before I went on, Fergie was he was speaking at the award, and he got me backstage, and he went, "Kath's coming up later, and make sure you look after her, and make sure she's really..." And she was so nervous about it, and I was like, "Come on, you're the woman who's kept the boss in check for that many years. Everybody else is scared of him, and you're the only one who isn't. You can do this, and you can..." And she was, she wasn't comfortable being on the stage and being centre of attention, but yet she, from everything that everybody said, she commanded that respect throughout the club.
If she said something, it went. Absolutely. I remember when I used to sit there in the reception working for MUTV, and you'd have, and I've told this story before, you'd have Ronaldo walking in, and Cristiano would be like, "Kath, cup of tea?" And he'd go and make her a cup of tea.
Yeah.
Okay, it was a machine, and you pressed a button, and he didn't quite know how to sort of, master the Yorkshire tea. She'd be like, "Yep, tea, make sure you," and she was like quite strict about how she liked the tea. But they would all sit. She was the first person they went to. She sorted out their mail. And when I'd gone back to the club just last year, she was like, Hayley, I used to remember when February, when your dad got his sacks full of his Valentine's mail. I was like, oh, that just makes me feel really weird. And she's like, I remember when you were little and your dad signed it, it was so lovely. And Johnny Evans had gone back through all the ages of all the different players and what they remembered of her, and put that throughout his eulogy. It was so special, like incredibly done. I mean, he's an incredible servant to the club himself, but she was so respected. Really sad because she didn't have any living family.
Oh, really?
She'd had no children, no siblings. Her husband had passed away many years ago. She was going to retire, and I sat at home thinking, well, what am I going to do? Like, he's gone.
Really
There's
was
just
her
me.
family then.
So
It
she
was
went.
her
It was her
everything.
family. All the girls at the club looked after her funeral. They all sat with her in her house. Sir Alex was sat afterwards at the wake, just having his little sandwiches and a cup of tea in this sort of working men's club. Well, it wasn't quite working men's club, but it was like a club,
like a social club.
A social club. That's it. And it was just lovely. And you saw all these kind of big name stars. Obviously, you had the first team arrive as well with Ruben Amorim, who all kind of sat. They were all smartly dressed and sat and observed the whole service to perfection. And lots of these incredible former players were just sat there eating their sandwiches and talking about Kath and the great times in the club. Of course, a lot of them have been let go, not as players, but a lot of the staff. The heart has been ripped out of Manchester United there, I've said it. And Kath was almost sort of the last one standing of that era of when all of us used to sort of just pray that another year would come of staying at Manchester United. There were so many people that worked there for many decades, unfortunately let go because of cost cutting and the way that the club's changed. And just all sitting there around these little tables talking about her.
They're important, aren't they? People like this around the club. Because I similarly, like growing up in a football club or around a football club, there are people there who, you know from tiny kids who are still there years later, and they still sort of treat you as though you're 10 when you walk in the door, or you go in, or sometimes I'll walk into Anfield now, and the stewards who are saying hello are people we went out on the plane with to Istanbul in 2005, and then somebody else. It's always people, and it used to be a lot of people moved on now because I'm older than you. it'd be far too long to sustain a career from my childhood all the way through. But it's those people are the ones that keep the club running.
It's true.
From day to day, and especially in those days when everything went through the stadium itself, everything went through the ground, so now with the big multiplex kind of training academies and things like that, it's not quite the same. Those people who are at the training grounds, they're the ones who are the ones who the players will have contact with on a daily basis, and the people at the grounds not necessarily so, but they're so important. There must have been people that you came across.
There's quite a few people I remember at Chelsea that Frank's still very close to and keeps in touch with. They're no longer at the club. But exactly that. And I think that it is important. And I think it's going back, like you say, to when everything sort of went through the manager, like the Alex Ferguson, he was the boss. And so the people that were close to him were really important as she would have been, as Kath was obviously to all of the managers, but the relationship that a manager has with someone like that, she was just a powerhouse there.
Yeah.
And she, I bet, knew every single detail. If someone was late, if someone was just all of the details would have gone through her. And it then comes down to respect of a person like that, someone that's loved the club, has literally dedicated her entire life right to the very end. By the sounds of it, she was still keeping in touch and talking about mail and all sorts, wasn't she?
Just weeks before she died.
Just weeks before she passed away. She still cared.
She wanted the mail to be sent through her. It's like, just relax, it's okay,
but
we've got it.
That, to have someone like that, and that should be honoured and absolutely preserved, I think.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people in roles at football clubs. They might not be the manager, they might not be, you know, the face of the club on reception, that might have just a small role on a match day, but they do it with such pride and they're proud to wear that badge, and they recognise the same fans that might come through the turnstile where they're a security guard, and you'll see it when you head to stadiums in your line of work and you've got the same people there over and over, and they're like, great, and having Sky there is like exciting as well, isn't it? And they all look after
depends
you.
on who's in.
It's you. Right.
Oh well.
No, it's so lovely.
But it is, you're right, you do see those same faces, and lovely that Ruben Amorim, in this kind of stint as Manchester United manager, gets to go and see the club at its warmest and at its most inclusive. And even though he won't have met Kath, he will have got a taste of what the club means, which is something that you can't get from
all clubs
watching
should
it.
Be, really. I think, isn't it really? That's the problem. They've all become so big, and we talk about social media a lot. Everything has been taken over by just sheer size and volume, and you lose sight of what really, really matters. It's people like her. It's like it's the people who work at the door. It's the people that get your car parked when the players come in, or someone that's doing the post. All of those things. People that are working in the kitchen. So all of those people are so important, and if they've been there for a while, they are the heart of it.
Yeah, and I feel sad because a lot of these bigger clubs now, you don't talk about the football family; it's the football business.
Yeah.
It does make me feel really sad.
Like that's when I know when Frank left Chelsea, it was those people he really missed, and he really missed that he hadn't had the chance to do a proper goodbye to people, like people that were in his life more than anyone else, actually, more than family. So it's so important. So I think they did it very well, and she clearly deserved it. Kath deserved the sent off that she got.
It was a little reunion for all of us, and I think Sir Alex Ferguson, a few days after that, was actually going to her house with some of the girls from the club to sort out her belongings. I mean, can you imagine that?
And that's trust as well over the years, you see. He just knew that she was.
That's it.
She was the backbone.
He said that United was run by one girl.
Well,
And that was Kath. That's what he said. United was run by one girl. I love it. Yeah.
Now we're at the month, and the whole sort of transfer deadline is suddenly looming. That's the 4th of February, is it?
Yeah, 3rd going into the 4th, maybe.
Okay.
Midnight on the 3rd, isn't it?
Okay.
Into the 4th.
Into the 4th.
No, it will be closed on.
Technically.
So really, at this stage now, it's all systems go for so many people. Can you imagine that kind of anxiety feeling where you think, I don't quite know what's going to happen?
No.
Am I still going to be here? It can be so exciting on many levels,
and players do just still get told.
Yeah.
Oh,
you're off.
Yeah, that's it.
Like we've sold you. That's like
it's ruthless.
This
isn't
isn't
it?
Ruthless.
because we look at all the big name moves and all the big name transfers, and they've all been talked about behind the scenes, and kind of lots of the work has already been done before you go into January. But sometimes there are players who just don't answer their phones because if they don't tell me, I can't go.
Yeah,
that's true. That is true.
I can't sign the contract.
Oh gosh, how awful is that?
Yeah.
That's a horrible feeling for a lot of people. I know Cal Walker it's out there, isn't it? You've got all your big names, your Salahs, maybe. Who knows what's going to happen? It'll change the face of various teams for a lot of people.
Marcus Rashford's going to be an interesting one because it's whether or not he waits to the summer or whether he goes now, and it doesn't seem like he's part of Amarim's plans.
Absolutely.
Even
I think this is going to be
when fit and available.
I'd want to go if I were him. I think.
Yes,
I think you just need to, and fresh, new year, new start, get away. You're just going to be sitting there just depressed until the summer, and then it's
devaluing yourself.
And then how do you plan your summer? Like it's not a nice position to be in for anybody, the player, the players around them, your family who are sitting there and waiting, not knowing what's happening, especially
because
when
there will have been players like him who are just thinking, just get to January, and then you can move, and then you can have a clean start, like you said.
Yeah.
As much as there's the ones who are dreading it, thinking, where am I going to end up?
Yeah.
There's also the ones who think, right, here we go.
Yeah, and
Clean slate.
That's true.
It's going to be a good January because the last few have been a little bit. January tends to be one of those funny ones. It's like emergency buys, a lot of loan deals. A lot of deals are done late, which is why the deadline day in January is exciting because you get injuries mid-January and you've sort of got the fallout from what's happened over Christmas with injuries, and you kind of scramble around for, okay, they might
and
not
you
be
get the domino.
biggest,
So sometimes you're
exactly
waiting on one deal and everything falls into place after that.
You get him, but we've got to get rid of him, and then we need to do that with this.
Yeah.
Oh,
if
quick,
he moves, then he
buy
goes.
one, get one free. Here's a little swap deal.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Agents must love it. They just must. This must be thrilling for football.
And
We love
exhausting.
it.
Yeah.
We love it.
But I don't love all the speculation. I find it really frustrating. When you hear, because I spend the whole time going, who's that come from? Is that an agent story?
Yeah.
Is that a player story? Is that
None
a
of
club
it's real.
story?
Yeah.
Is that it's all
Trying to get to the bottom of the.
Yeah, when I read the story, I'm always trying to work out who's the source, where's that come from, and what's the. So I spoke to someone. I spoke to David Ornstein about it, and he said he always tries to make sure that he's not being used by somebody. To make sure that's why he's got such a great reputation, because he double and triple checks things when he's going through with any sort of transfer speculation.
True.
So it's not actually speculation. It's just
It's going back to
it's going back to
that. There'll be
source.
stuff all over Twitter, and they're like, "Why aren't you reporting on it, you idiot sports? You're so behind." I'm like, because we've gone back to the source and checked, and actually that person's being used to put that out so that this club wants to come in and show an interest, that these 3 clubs might be interested, and actually we're not going to fall for that.
No.
I think we have done in the past, and agents will
and
play us and use
it will
us.
happen. It will happen, but it's just you constantly trying to stay one step ahead of it. And everybody's so media literate now that they can read into things. They're like, oh, that's a agent story, or that's a player story. That's you still get the wool pulled out.
But you do get excited though.
Oh yeah, I used to do a lot of the sort of late evenings, which was always quite good fun. Now, because I do the football show, it's during the day, and you still get a lot of stuff happening throughout the day. And I like kind of building up, and I can just go home and sit and just watch and let it all unfold. And you've got the youngsters who are as excited as I was, sort of 5-10 years ago. I've sort of can take a little step back now. I like going in the next day, because you can kind of wrap up and round up.
Yeah.
And I've got my big book where sort of December time, I start writing down who's been interested in who. Then I might kind of work out my little plan of who might be going where. Then I'll have each of my teams. And it is quite Premier League centric. But on sort of the evening, because you can never prep, because you're prepping for the complete unknown. If you're suddenly left with 4 or 5 minutes to talk, you'd be like, right, let's just remind you of what, like, for example, Fulham have done already. And I can go back and consult my little book. And I've kept them all. Yeah. So I'll go through, and every day what happens. If I'm on a day off, I do go onto the blog at the end of the day just to make my little notes, because you can be really caught out. I'd be sat interviewing people, well, they haven't done this and they haven't done. They're like, oh, well, actually they did sign someone on January the 2nd. It just happened early, or Newcastle did their business early. So you can be caught out because you can't really prep.
That's the temptation, is to get so swept up in deadline day that you forget the rest of January existed. And you're suddenly going, it's been really quiet. And I'm like, well, it wasn't.
I know. And look, I miss the days of our reporters just out there with fans in the background and just chaos ensuing around them. And you're sat in the studio on edge just waiting to be sort of brought back into vision quickly because someone's sworn or shoved a purple dildo in your face, which poor Alan Irwin will be known. Yes. Which is why I wore this.
You've gone for, instead of deadline day yellow, you've gone for dildo purple.
Yes. I didn't think that through.
That's making the clips.
Oh my gosh. We've had like blow up dolls in the background. And
oh, bring that back.
I know. Why is
that not happening anymore?
Safety.
Boring. Oh my
I know,
gosh,
but
it's
because it's not necessarily like it's going to be a blow up doll. It could be anything. So you've got to
You know, but you gotta run with it. You know, the stakes are high. It's live telly. I think to keep all
bring
of
a
us
sense of jeopardy back.
You know, I sort of care, but I maybe don't wildly care where one of these footballers turn up and what team they go to. So I would enjoy that aspect of it. So Frank would be watching it for the detail, whereas I want to watch it for the.
He's waiting for the detail. You're waiting for the dildo.
it's just, you've got to provide for all audiences. So who do we talk to at Sky about that?
No, we do.
We'll get emails, and then you can set up lots of multiple accounts, and then you can say, Chat GPT, write this in the tone of.
But someone's couple of minutes of fame in the background, isn't it, really? So you're forever there apologising for the bad language, and there's kids out. You don't want to encourage kids to be out on the streets past their bedtimes in the background in the cold,
I know, but it is good fun though.
It's brilliant. Did you ever watch any of the journalists outside Westminster? And they could be on the early morning news. It's like, I'm talking 6 a.m. And they're standing outside Westminster and such has happened. There's always someone like suddenly realised they're live on air and they walk behind with a placard. Fair play to them, because it's usually something quite boring, but fair play, they've gotten out of their beds and gone down to Westminster in the hope that a camera would be there with their little placard. And you've got to give them their moments. That's how I feel.
There'll be you. Hi, Mum. I'll tell you where.
You don't have to say anything. It's just the fun of it.
Have you ever got so deep into the transfer window that you followed the planes? Have you ever done a plane tracker?
Yeah, flight tracker.
That is so much fun. That is so much fun.
I did it for Santa.
There's a private plane, and it's leaving this airport in the Netherlands, and it's flying into John Lennon Airport in Liverpool, and it's bringing this. So that's where we think he is, and he's coming on there and
I wouldn't even have thought of that. That's genius.
Yeah, there was one when Fernando Torres moved from Liverpool to Chelsea, and there were lots of reports, and everybody was going with this story, and they were saying he's on the helicopter, he's on Abramovich's own helicopter, and it's taking him from Liverpool to London, and there were a load of journalists sitting waiting for him. They're like, but he's in Liverpool, we're looking at him. Everybody kind of got caught up in the fact he's on a helicopter. And it's like, he's not, look.
He's there.
There he is.
Right. It's just great. I think there is just such a hype, isn't it?
Yeah.
And there is an excitement.
I like the silliness now of it.
Yes,
you can't take it too seriously. No. It used to be quite dramatic and quite serious. It was the Manchester City one, when they had the new owners, when the owners came in, and then they bought Robinho, and it was also, and nearly pinched Berbatov from Manchester United. That was the one that just absolutely lit it on fire, and then it's In
fact, I remember working for Man United before I was at Sky, when Berbatov signed, and being in the club, and David Gill was in his office and kind of had those the slat blinds, and they're like peeking out. And I remember being there, knowing that he was in the stadium, knowing that we'd snuck him in, waiting to sort of cover the story, and like one of the first club channels to do those little introductory videos. They all have them now, and that's what I enjoy about the next day. You get all sort of the fun of them in the shirts and the little messages, and they're there signing with their family, and seeing like James Cooper outside in the car park freezing, speculating. I'm like, look at him. And then a couple of years later, I was on that other side, being laughed at. But at the time, like, he's here, and I know he's here, and that excitement you feel being on the inner side of it.
But then when you see the camera angle through the blinds, and then it comes up on Sky Sports News, which is on the telly in the office, and then suddenly the blinds are shut. Just twirl the little bat on.
I do like hearing all this sort of behind the scenes.
When Javier Hernandez, like Chicharito, when he came, and he was like with his mum and his cousins and his brother, Little P, and they'd all come, and it's so lovely, because you can just see how excited they are, and their family are like, can we go on a stadium tour tomorrow? And he's there just like trying to sign this very important contract, and they're just walking around just in awe at the sort of, the list of the walls
of course, it's such a moment.
All these incredible people that have played for United, and it's so nice seeing it on the other side.
That's it,
and their
not
families,
just the player, the families.
And they're all in Mexico. One next thing they're in like Manchester, having never been there, completely freezing. Or being handed umbrellas. You're going to need a few of these over the years. So it is that. But then of course you've got families' lives who are completely turned around, and we heard from Colleen Rooney, didn't we, about when, and I remember that as well in very early days, being back at Sky when she was on Stick to Football, talking about the hatred and the threats and the house, and the worry that she felt when Rooney was going to potentially be snapped up and make a move, and it had been completely blown up. I mean, there was an element of truth in it, wasn't there? He said all these years later. You'll remember that, Kelly.
I remember the move, but what you were saying about Colleen Rooney and the kind of attacks on there, or she felt, and the threat, the sense of threat that she felt, and the house was broken into. They went onto the cars, and it was just that. Yeah, that's that level of sort of abuse towards families is.
Yeah.
That's on a different scale. That's not the kind, you know.
That's completely unnecessary, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, then suddenly it's all put into perspective, isn't it? You're like, really?
Yeah.
It's not. That's very, very difficult.
Our house used to get egged in Scotland. We moved, but that's just because my dad spoke his mind on Scotsport, I think, at the time. Yeah. I was like, it's your own bloody
where
fault,
did he
by
go?
the way.
Yeah.
We just moved to another village in the middle of
No,
nowhere.
I mean, I
rural
was
Scotland.
thinking because he
didn't
moved
move
somewhere,
anywhere.
but it was because he...
Yeah, so I remember
So
that
if people
at the time.
said things he didn't like,
Yeah,
your house would get
car
egged.
keyed, everything.
Oh, no.
And I'm even, God, all these years later, when my dad was alive just a few years ago, would be worried about, he did commentaries, co-coms at Elland Road. And of course, my dad left Leeds to go to Manchester United a million years ago. Not many did it. Rio Ferdinand, Eric Cantona, I think Alan Smith, but he was one of the first, and stupidly had come out 5 days before and said, you know, I'm not leaving. I love Leeds United. I would never leave this club. And then his best mate Joe Jordan signed with him. We're like, dude. And he couldn't go back to Leeds for years after that, and even like decades later, working for Sky, done like a League Cup game, and had to be escorted into Elland Road. I'm like, as if people still actually care.
Yeah,
They'd have abuse shouted at him.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell?
That's
I found it hilarious. But, and I think he
when you're walking through with your bodyguards.
But you expect it at the ground. You don't expect it at your home.
No,
and
of course.
and with your children, and
your kids involved. I mean, it's just that's awful, and it's. She never came out and spoke about that at the time, did she? And like now, obviously, kind of looks back and is in a position where she can come out and say how she felt. And I hope that fans can actually look at that and take that and empathise, sympathise. Okay, we've got to remember these are people, and it's affecting the wider family. And like, come on, would you want your own kids to be placed in a situation like no. For all the millions, you wouldn't. No, you would give that up for. Safety, security, and I
tell you what, though, I hope there's a mad one on transfer deadline day.
It'll be City, won't it? It'll be Man City.
Oh, just something out the blue, like just
one that
because
wasn't expected
so much,
at all.
So much of what we know now has
predictable.
been leaked, and there are sagas, and and you go, oh yeah, well we've been expecting that one. Just a random one,
a complete
out of
random.
nowhere would be great.
That's what makes it fun.
Yeah,
I agree
they're the
but
ones.
Again, social media, as you say, so many things get leaked. It takes the excitement out of
Yeah,
it from that aspect. I know what you mean. The big secret ones.
Yeah.
That is brilliant. I agree with that.